Hey YouTube, imagine you're trying to learn how to play basketball. It's your first week, first time picking up the ball, and you want to learn how to do a 360 slam dunk, a reverse 360 slam dunk. That's the first thing you're going to go to. It's probably not a great idea. First you would want to learn how to dribble the ball, and then maybe do a layup, and then maybe a spin move, something not in the air yet, and then a regular slam dunk. There's a process to get to that amazing move. Photoshop is kind of similar. There's basic core tools that you want to learn first to get to that cool stuff later, like frequency separation, and you're trying to impress people with your skills. What's impressive is quality work and knowing how to do that anywhere, anytime. Tutorials are really fun, and it's a great way to learn and just try stuff out, and I use them a lot early on too. But what I found is they don't actually build the skills that you need to grow and become that master retoucher and that really experienced editor. Some tutorials have like 100 steps in them, and you learn one trick. At the end of that whole thing, you've just learned one thing in this one scenario. But the challenge next week and the one after that are going to be slightly different. It's a different photo in a different area with different light. How do you use those steps to get to the same result or a similar one? You're not going to know. That's because you didn't learn how that person got there. To relate it back to basketball, you could know how to do that 360 slam dunk, but if you can't get past the defender with the ball, you're never going to get anywhere close to the net. So I want to focus on a couple videos that aren't just going to be a one-trick pony, but core skills, just like those tutorial builders are using in those lessons. I want you to be able to do your cool stuff anytime you want without any assistance. For instance, you're going to get to a point in your photography where you're going to want to do some cool stuff like cut this person out and put him in another photo. And where all of that begins, that compositing, starts with selections. How do you isolate something and move it somewhere else or do something to it? Selections are kind of the dribbling of Photoshop. Without it, your quality and your game just falls apart. So before we jump in, what do I mean by selections? Selections means isolating a part of the photo so that when you apply an action, a brush, or a filter, it only affects that area within the boundary, not the whole photo. We're going to quickly look at the best techniques because they're not all equal and they shouldn't all be used for the same problem at the same time. Let's start off with some obvious stuff. It's 2020 and we have quick wands, quick select, and select subject, all incredibly powerful tools to save time, but they're not magic bullets. Let me show you what I mean. If we try to use the quick wand to make a selection of Abe's head here, you can see that it's not doing a great job. You've got to do all kinds of adding and subtracting, and it starts to bubble out and burst in different areas, going back and forth, never really giving you exactly what you want, and you're going to spend a lot of time getting something that's really not perfect. This time could have been better used. Let's try a different technique. Let's try the select subject and see if you can identify this human figure. And you can see it doesn't do a great job. It's really not much better than the quick select. If anything, it might be a little worse. That tool has its place, but this is just an example of it failing when the color and the contrast don't allow the tool to work properly. They're really designed for ideal situations. Eventually, you're always going to have to fall back on some kind of manual method at some point in time. And in 15 years of using these tools, they've never failed. No matter how good the automation gets, the basics are always there and they always work. Yes, they take a little longer, but good things take time. So if we look at paths, this is a good manual way for isolating something with a hard edge in a tight space where there's a lot of the same color going on. And then if we make a selection of that path, you can see that it's razor sharp. It's like a scalpel. And the nice thing is it's saved in memory in a panel for later use, manipulation, and combinations, and all kinds of useful things. Now let's take a look at this text. Let's see if we can make a selection of it. If I was to do a path, even though it's a hard edge, this would be very time consuming. So while this tool does work, it's not an efficient use of our time. And if I try a quick wand, you can see that the details are too small. It can't seem to pick up what I want. And it's just grabbing everything in the area. So let's go to color range, the next strong tool in our tool belt. You can see it did an amazing job when you select the black, but it also got Abe's head because he's also in the photo containing some of that color. So you have to do what I'm calling combo selections. Start off with a box of the loose area you want to select, and then apply the color range after that. So it'll apply the color range within the box. And there, we've picked up the first line of text and left the rest out. You can do the same with the lasso tool. It's a more organic way of selecting an area, but I find the box the quickest. This is where we get into what I call modifiers. You've already made the primary selection, you just want to tweak it in some way. So if you press Q on the keyboard, you bring up the quick mask, and anything not in red is what's in your selection and editable, and going to show up in your final layer, your final mask. And you can see here that you can actually brush black and white to add and subtract from your mask. You can expand the selection and say how many pixels you want it to blow out by, or you can contract the pixels and say how much you want it to squeeze in by. All around the perimeter, it will move that many pixels in. You can also feather the edge, so it starts off hard from your original selection, and then it softens the edge as if you took a soft brush all the way around the contour. This is very useful for things like hair. So that's all I want to get to for now. If these concepts alone are practiced and understood, your retouching quality will reach new levels since everything will appear realistic. Nothing hurts me more than walking by an advertisement and you see a poor job was done selecting something because the most basic tools were not understood properly, and maybe somebody put too much trust in intelligent tools like automatic selection, quick wands. But until Adobe releases artificial wisdom, you're going to need to know the core tools to get past these hurdles. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this and learned something, please hit like and subscribe. Visit demaninphotography.com or my Instagram for even more info. Bye for now.